people always wonder, why should people be interested in the Pope? Why does he even have an authority around issues to do with family? We've got to go back historically to who instituted the office of the Pope and what mandate was given to this office. From Matthew 16, John 17, Jesus was very clear. He leaves the keys with Peter. And this is the 266th Pope. In other words, there is a direct line from this Pope to St. Peter, the first Pope. And Jesus, when he left, he made it very clear that this office he instituted will have the duty of whatever they bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever they lose on earth will be loosed in heaven. This is not just a symbolic statement Jesus was making. Jesus left a serious authority, and he entrusted it to this teaching office called the magisterium of the church, which is the Holy Father as he comes in union with the bishops and the cardinals. So therefore, when they speak on matters of faith and morals, especially on the family, they're not matters of opinion. They're matters for us to know that they're coming from the Holy Spirit. And we have a duty as Christians of goodwill to obey them, because they're given to guide us, to ensure that we succeed and we find happiness in this earth. The first one I'll begin with, which was very historical, of course, is the Synod on the Family, which is normally held after every 10 years. And for this, there's always a reason that brings up a synod. And this particular time, there have been issues that have emanated and that are affecting marriage and the family. And therefore, the church normally in its wisdom comes together to reevaluate its doctrinal teaching in regard to the changes that have happened in the world as regards the marriage and family. And this particular synod comes in the backdrop of a lot of changes in terms of legislation that is proposing alternative unions. We have a lot of pressures on, we have issues of divorced couples that are staying together, issues of whether they will be should be accessing sacraments. We have, of course, the pressures of materialism that is really plaguing most families right now. And of course, you have to understand the plight of the environment, all the corruption that you're seeing. All these things always have the effect on the family. He was there in the World Meeting of Families in Philadelphia to show you just how much prominence he places on the family. And again, you can see his key message was basically reminding us how the family is the hope. He calls the family our human treasure. I mean, he goes ahead to say that there will be no authentic human development unless there is a commensurate social and moral progress. And where do you find that social and moral progress? In the heart of the family. Again, he reiterates how the family is the school of faith. Parents are the first and foremost educators of their children. So you can see in everything that the Pope has been talking about, he's consistently reiterated, not anything new, because the church's social teaching has always been consistent. That's one thing that is beautiful about the Catholic faith. For 2,000 years, we have been very consistent about the fundamental and natural place of the family. I think the first thing, if you ask me, is that since he's very cognizant of the plight of the poor, I think the Pope's first message should be for us to relook at the way we've treated the people that are marginalized and the poor. We have a lot of people today living in very deplorable conditions. It is unfortunate that people today in our country, when people are driving big cars and embezzling public funds, we have people who cannot afford a decent meal every single day, earning very meager wages. This is what the Pope should address, that there needs to be a political will that truly looks at the dignity of the human person. The Pope has addressed it in his encyclical. The human person has to be treated with dignity, and that dignity doesn't come from the externals. That dignity comes from every human being is a child of God, regardless of whatever is their status. And I think the Holy Father should address these inequalities that are there in our country. There's a widening gap between the poor and the rich in this country, and there's a concerted effort to neglect the plight of the people that most need our attention, and that's the poor. And I think that should be on his first agenda. Secondly, I think that the Pope should address the growing concern, especially of the role of fathers. And I think one of the things is that in a society where due to affirmative action, we've done a lot, and as a country we have been very successful in making milestones in terms of empowering the woman. But I think the Pope in his wisdom and given what he has taught, he brings in a more holistic view in the development of the entire family. One-sided development of a family will have consequences later for this nation. And I think the Pope should address a way that we can address the empowering of the boy child, the empowering of the man, so that we can have men taking up their roles, because men do have a natural place in developing the character of children and in providing leadership in a home, despite their defects. And I think that would be paramount, and as a nation that he would address that. I think the other thing that the Pope, I think, should address as a country, given the fact that he's addressed environmental issues, we do have issues around environment. And I think he should address the little efforts we can make, even as a people, as a country, in the small things we can do from a family point of view, in terms of creating an awareness of our environment, being conscious of the implications of our actions, so that we realize that any action we do doesn't just stick with us, but has an impact on other people.